What's up, guys? Welcome back to another Stay Fresh production. Today I got a special something for you. We're starting, I guess, somewhat of a new series. I've been actually seeing this go around. This is not an original idea. Some people have been calling it Fragrant and things like that. I don't have a name for it yet. Maybe by the time this video airs I'll have some kind of name for this, and this may not even be a series, I don't know, but it at least is a new video topic that I want to bring to you guys. I have a couple of fragrant peeves or myths, whatever you want to call them, that I want to address, that I've seen over my years in the fragrance community. These are things that either have kind of got to my core, that bugged me a little bit, or they're just things that I've thought about myself, some things that I've run into. Maybe these are ways I used to think about fragrances and things have changed in my own experience, whatever it may be. I'm not trying to throw shade or judgment at anyone. If you have any of these thoughts or ideals when it comes to fragrance, I don't mean to offend you. But if I do, I guess that's just life. We're here to talk about it. So we're going to have 4 things we're going to talk about. Number 1, this topic actually is something that I have been thinking about for a long time, especially over the past year, when I started to get rid of a lot of my bigger bottles of fragrance that I knew I was not going to finish. And this myth, bigger bottles are a better value. Now you have the whole idea of, in terms of price per milliliter, if you upgrade to the bigger bottle, it's a better value as opposed to the smaller bottle. 100 milliliters might cost you $20 more than 50 milliliters if we're talking about the designer market. Things can change with the niche market, but you get the idea. And I will say that inherently that is true. That is not invalid. A bigger bottle is a better value when you're talking about price per milliliter. However, I think that only stands if you're working with 1 to 5 bottles in your collection. If you have like 30 bottles or more, then always going for the 100 to 150 milliliter bottle is not a better value. All you're doing is spending more money on more fragrance that you won't use. Again, that's just what I believe. If you have a large collection, if you have a large rotation, getting the bigger bottles of everything is not a better value, because you're just having more fragrance that's just going to sit there and not get finished up because you have so many other fragrances to wear.
Hashtag Team 50 milliliter.
Let's move on to point number 2. Point number 2, I've gotten this question a lot on my videos in talking about a particular fragrance and having someone comment and say, do you think this is safe to blind buy? And generally my response to a question like that is, you should never blind buy anything. If you can avoid it, if you can find samples or decants of the fragrance, first go for that if you're genuinely interested in this fragrance. And I know that that's not always the case, but I do not tell you guys to blind buy fragrance. I've never said that on this channel. Not that I think, but I'm pretty sure I've never said that. I did have a particular person who responded to me when I told them that, to say, well, I don't believe in decants.
Okay.
You can do whatever you want with your money, but decanting a fragrance that you're interested in is so much more cost effective than blind buying a bottle that you might end up either just liking and not loving, or not liking at all, especially if you've never smelled the fragrance. And it's something I think we've all been through as collectors. I went through a blind buying phase for sure, and because of that, all I can say is I don't recommend it, because most of the fragrances I blind bought, I sold. Point blank, that's what it is. I'd say 90% of those fragrances I don't have anymore. Please get a sample first. Don't just blind buy every bottle and then be stuck with all these bottles you don't like. Okay, so number 3, this is a big one. I hear this all the time. If a fragrance doesn't last 8+ hours and project for more than 3 hours, it's garbage, it's trash. I just have to say, in some contexts, that is a very immature way of thinking about a fragrance. I mean, let me show you this. I'll show you a few pictures of some screenshots that I took from Fragrantica of particular fragrances and how they were rated with their longevity and performance and all that. Now, if you see this, a lot of people will go to Fragrantica, they'll see this on Fragrantica, and they'll immediately judge the fragrance right then and there to say, oh, It's not very good. It doesn't seem to last. It doesn't project. So it's probably not a very good fragrance. And then they'll just pass it off, even though it could smell fantastic. But there's another thing to that I want to add. I believe that most of the time, the performance of a fragrance can be determined by the perfumer. I don't know this for certain, I'm no expert, but I believe that most of the time they have control over that. I think they have the power to add certain fixatives or more potent ingredients or not, so as to directly control whether a fragrance will last a long time or dissipate rather quickly. To that end, I believe that many, not all, but many fragrances that do not have beast mode performance were not intended to have it. The energy of a scent, which I think is how it presents itself in your environment overall, in conjunction with you and your personality and your image, is not only affected by the scent character itself, but also its potency. And I'm talking about the energy here. I think there are some beautiful fragrances out there that are just too strong, and obviously some that could be stronger. But there are some fragrances with weak performance, quote unquote, that are done just right in my opinion. I think some great examples of that, YSL's L'Homme. I think this is a gorgeous scent. I think the performance is done just right with this one. And same thing goes for this one, John Varvatos Vintage. A lot of people say it's weak along with all of Varvatos' fragrances in terms of projection and longevity, but I think it's just meant to be gentlemanly. I think it's really to some fragrances benefit that they don't scream in your face. As a result, a person has to be in your intimate space to catch a whiff. There's also something to be said about a fragrance not lasting hours on end, and the benefits of that are, say you spray your fragrance on in the morning, and what if you don't want to wear that fragrance throughout the whole day or through the afternoon even? And you don't have to worry about showering it off. It's just going to fade off. You can spray something else on, keep it moving. You can go through 2 or 3 fragrances in a day. So every type of performance has a place. I truly believe that. All right, and the last point we're talking about is synthetics. Synthetics and fragrances. The stigma is synthetic equals bad. People hear like, oh, it has synthetic ingredients. Oh, it smells like it has synthetic ingredients. It's a bad fragrance. And look, if you don't like the fragrance, that's something different. If you just don't like the smell of it, so be it. But just because it uses synthetics does not mean it is cheap or it is just not well put together. Some of the most beloved fragrances in the fragrance community use a lot of synthetic ingredients. Synthetics do have a lot of benefits, like increasing the potency and the performance of a fragrance, or even creating accords that we cannot naturally extract from nature to have in fragrances. Accords like, I believe, apple, or even fig, or leather, things like that. There's no essential oils for these fragrance notes that we can extract naturally, so we use synthetics to create these notes. Now, synthetics can be bad for those with, skin conditions, sensitive skin, things like that, so obviously you use them at your discretion. But I believe that the use of synthetics does not imply that a fragrance was cheaply made. Again, some of the most expensive fragrances out there use quite a bit of synthetics and they still smell great, very high quality. So what I say is, if it smells great and it doesn't burn your skin off, who cares? Wear it. Now, on the other hand, I do want to say that natural perfumery should not be overlooked. There's some wonderful brands out there. There's one brand I'm going to highlight in an upcoming video. I'm really happy about this brand. Again, all natural ingredients, and they make some beautiful scents. The thing is, with natural perfumes, you just have to be prepared to accept poorer or below average performance because they don't have any fixatives and things like that, which often come as synthetics in order to keep them together and on the skin longer in order to be detected longer. So that's all the myths / peeves we're going to go over today. I may have rustled some feathers, I'm not sure, but I'd love to know your thoughts on these ideas, on these topics. Please let me know down in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it. This was fun. I might do this again. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Again, let me know what you think. Peace. I'll see you guys in the next one.